My empathy doll was picked up by my nemesis. When I went to get it back, I unexpectedly started seeing pop-up comments. Yes. Throw your bodies at each other. I live for this rivals to lovers drama. It's delicious. That night, I was too terrified to sleep. I was afraid my limbs would be smashed to bits, then thrown into a wok and stir-fried. But just as my nerves were stretched to their breaking point, I felt someone gently kiss my fingertips. I yanked my hand back in shock. I was the only one in my narrow bed. But the soft touch on my fingers wasn't my imagination. Could it have been Oliver? I was on edge all night. After agonizing over it, I finally hid on the balcony and called him. By accident, I hit video instead of voice. Oliver answered instantly. His room was dim, so I couldn't see his face clearly. I could only hear his hoarse voice, slightly out of breath. He sounded annoyed, like I'd interrupted something. This had better be important. Where's my doll? I asked. Oliver paused for a long moment before answering lazily, gave it to my dog as a chew toy. Why? I knew Oliver's dog. A little white bichon named Coco. She was super sweet and would always greet me with little yelps. If it was Coco, a little kiss would be perfectly normal. But remembering the comments, I was still uneasy. Don't you do anything weird to my doll. Especially not stir-fry it in a wok. Oliver went quiet for a weird moment, then scoffed. You're overthinking it. I wouldn't do anything to you if you were standing right in front of me, let alone a doll. Huh. I think he got the wrong idea. I was a little embarrassed and was about to hang up. Then, suddenly, I saw the comments again. Hey, buddy, maybe put some pants on before you talk. Is he being sarcastic or is he just mad defensive? I can tell the difference. I'll take one surprise college hunk, please. You heard me. I'll take the diamond tier one. What did that mean? Oliver, I said, testing the waters, are you not wearing any pants? A violent coughing fit erupted from the other end of the phone. Oliver, who had been drinking water, choked so hard his pale neck turned pink. The phone camera in his hand shook with him. It was just for a second, then it steadied. But I really did see his strong thigh. A flash of it between the messy blankets. It was, well, pretty pale. My face turned beet red. Sorry. I thought he was on the toilet. I didn't expect him to be a no-pants sleeper. Oliver, having nothing left to lose, shot back, I'll wear them if I want to and I won't if I don't. What, you want to come check? What? I pictured that scene, and my ears started burning. I opened my mouth, then hesitated. Isn't that a little inappropriate? Oliver froze for 3 seconds, then hung up the video call in a fury. Ava, you're so damn annoying. It wasn't the first time Oliver had called me annoying. He'd said it many, many times. But he wasn't wrong. Someone like me is incredibly easy to hate. Oliver and I used to be childhood sweethearts. But then my mother died, and my stepmom had my little sister. Somehow, our family's finances took a nosedive. It got so bad that when my sister got sick, we didn't have the money to treat her. My stepmom begged me, crying, to borrow money from Oliver. The Canes are so rich, and Oliver's an only child. You grew up with him, he'll definitely lend you the money, right? I just stood there, confused and lost. My dad stubbed out his cigarette, shielding me as he roared at my stepmom. Why are you putting Ava on the spot? She's just a kid. My stepmom wiped her tears, her voice rising. Ava is your daughter, but Jenna isn't. Besides, if you hadn't gambled all our money away, would I be begging Ava? My dad's face flushed red, and he actually raised his hand and slapped her. Then why don't you just go die? My stepmom sobbed, holding Jenna and threatening to jump off the building. I grabbed her leg, crying as I promised, Mom, I'll go borrow the money. Please don't die, okay? She was my stepmom, but she'd never been cruel to me. She had just made the same mistake my mother had. She'd married the wrong man. Forced to live a life of poverty and humiliation. But I didn't want her to end up like my mother, jumping from the balcony. I'd already lost my mom. I didn't want Jenna to lose hers, too. That afternoon, I found Oliver. But the words borrow money were impossible to say. The little boy grew impatient, pinching my cheeks and shaking my head. What is it? Are we gonna play or not? I held it in until my face was bright red, finally mumbling, "Can you lend me some money? I'll pay you back when I grow up." Little Oliver just raised an eyebrow. That's it? He didn't even ask what I needed it for. He pulled out several thick stacks of birthday money from his nightstand and generously stuffed them into my hands. Can we play now? It was a simple game, playing house. He wanted to be the dad, and he wanted me to be the mom, holding my hand as we walked down the aisle. We'd played it 100 times, but Oliver never got tired of it. I still remember it. That day, when I carried the money home. My stepmom, holding Jenna, looked like she was about to kneel before me. "Ava, once Jenna's better, I'll get a job and pay you back." My dad, acting like a caring husband for once, pulled her up and scolded her. "We're family, what's this talk about paying back? Having a friend like Oliver is a blessing for our whole family." My stepmom pushed him away and just held me, choking on her sobs. I heard her whisper "I'm sorry" over and over. "I'm sorry, Ava, I'm sorry." A lot happened after that. Jenna needed the most expensive hospital and the best medicine. My dad got into a drunken fight and had to pay damages. My stepmom got scammed by a pyramid scheme and lost everything. I never did a single thing wrong. But in the end, I was the one who had to ask Oliver for money. No one ever said sorry to me again, and no one talked about paying it back. It all became expected. There was nothing around my neck. Unlike Jenna, who wore a jade Buddha pendant my stepmom had begged for. But my head felt heavier and heavier. So heavy I couldn't lift it in front of Oliver. And he had no idea. Years passed. We grew from children into teenagers. The brand of pens in our pencil cases, the shoes on our feet, the caliber of our after-school tutors, these things gradually sorted us into different classes. But Oliver always treated me like his closest friend. Of course, he had his questions. He was confused why I was always spacing out, why I was avoiding him. He just assumed he wasn't giving me enough money, which led my dad and stepmom to criticize or even abuse me. So one afternoon during our senior year of high school, Oliver showed up at my house with a backpack full of cash. My dad and stepmom were thrilled, of course, warmly inviting him in. But I blocked the door, refusing to let him inside. Oliver looked into my eyes, bewildered. "Ava, what's wrong?" That was the first time I ever said anything harsh to him. I told him to get lost. I told him he was disgusting. I told him I never wanted to be his friend again. The color drained from Oliver's face in an instant. My dad was so furious he was about to hit me with a broom. How dare this ungrateful brat talk to their cash cow like that? She'd clearly had it too good for too long. The broom cut through the air, heading straight for my face. Oliver pulled me into his arms, taking the blows for me. His embrace was so warm, almost hot. Like a summer I could neither hold nor handle. Summer was too bright. How could someone wretched like me let summer rot along with me? Behind me, Oliver was still frantically trying to defend me. "Don't hit her, I must have done something wrong. Here, this is $20,000. The SATs are coming up, you should make her some good food so she can build up her strength." My dad and stepmom's eyes lit up. They clutched the backpack full of money, putting on a show of politeness. "Oh, we couldn't possibly." The boy was already heading down the stairs, waving a casual hand. "Remember to make her more ribs. The nurse at her physical said she was too thin, almost malnourished." That sentence was the last straw. I don't know where I found the strength, but I pushed my dad aside, snatched the backpack, and hurled it out the hallway window. You listened to me. I never considered you a friend. You were just my personal ATM, a total sucker. Downstairs, Oliver's face was completely devoid of color. He looked up at me, his lips parted, trying several times to speak but failing. Behind me, my dad and stepmom's curses and blows rained down on me. But I just clung to the windowsill, shouting another insult at him. Every single day I spent as your friend made me sick. Take your filthy money and get out. I never want to see you again. Tears filled my eyes. But thankfully, Oliver didn't look at me again. Got it, he said after a long silence, calmly picking up the bag. I won't bother you again. The boy walked away without a backward glance, his shadow stretched long by the setting sun. Until he was completely gone. The sound of my dad and stepmom screaming was about to shatter my eardrums. But I just closed my eyes, letting the fists and slaps land on me as a small smile played on my lips. Keep walking, Oliver. You're heading towards a bright and brilliant future. Don't ever step into my swamp again. For 2 years after the SATs, I worked crazy part-time jobs, regularly trying to wire money to Oliver's bank account to pay him back. Every single transfer failed. He hated me. He hated me so much he'd rather lose the money. We had no contact at all until now, when he happened to pick up my empathy doll. The restless night finally ended. My dreams were filled with his messy bed and his strong thighs. So ridiculous. The next day, a classmate set me up with a part-time job. Dog walking. I arrived at a luxurious villa, and the person who opened the door was Oliver. I hadn't seen him in 2 years. He had grown into his features, his eyes were deep set, his nose straight and defined. I instinctively apologized. Sorry, I think I have the wrong address. You don't, Oliver said flatly. He didn't seem surprised to see me, but when he looked at me, his gaze was sharp and cold. Coco's in my room. His tone was just as distant. Then he turned and walked away, not wanting to say another word to me. The boy from last night's video call, the one with the bright red ears, seemed like a figment of my imagination. I hesitated for a moment, then followed him. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. The room was dim, and little Coco was sleeping soundly in a doggy bed. I was about to pick her up when I noticed something on Oliver's pillow. It looked like my empathy doll. It was wearing a little Louis Vuitton dress, a Mio Mio hair clip, and a Bulgari necklace around its neck. It looked as beautiful and delicate as a little figurine. Huh? Didn't he say the doll was Coco's chew toy? I was about to get a closer look when Oliver snatched it away and stuffed it into his hoodie pocket. His profile was rigid, and he spoke quickly. Don't get any ideas, Ava. Those are just some old things Coco got tired of wearing. She insisted on putting them on your doll, so I reluctantly decorated it a bit. The weird comments appeared before my eyes again. I'm sorry, what? The girl didn't say a word. I won't say who's getting defensive here. Coco, hey, leave me out of this. Hi, I'm a trash collector. I'll take that Bulgari necklace, thank you. Did the comments mean Oliver was lying to me? I wanted to find out. But Oliver's face was already cold enough to freeze water. I didn't dare say another word. I clipped the leash on Coco and headed outside. Unexpectedly, Oliver followed. Wait a minute. When my classmate told me about the job, she said the owner was too busy to walk his dog, which was why he needed to hire someone. Thinking of this, I quickly said, I can walk Coco by myself. If you're busy, you can head back. Oliver narrowed his eyes, his tone sharp. What? You don't want me to follow? Am I being annoying again? He still remembered all the horrible things I'd said to him. It felt like someone had squeezed my heart. The emotions I'd been suppressing since I saw him came flooding back, sour and aching. I stopped and looked up at him. Oliver, about what I said back in senior year. My phone rang. Cutting me off. It was my dad. I instinctively declined the call, but it rang again the next second. Oliver asked casually, "Why aren't you answering? Is that your boyfriend?" I waved a hand dismissively and stepped around the corner to take the call. "Ava, have you thought about that guy I told you about last time? He might be a bit older, but his family got a huge payout from a property buyout. He's got money. If you marry him, you'll be set for life." I couldn't help but raise my voice. "He's 44. He's old enough to be my father." My dad chuckled indulgently. "What do you know? Older men know how to take care of you. Besides, he just wants to take a trip with you. You won't have to spend a dime, and you get a free vacation. Just a trip." He said it so casually. An unmarried man and woman traveling to a faraway place, the implications were obvious. When I stayed silent, my dad added, "You should lock him down while he's still into you. Besides, you've done this before." My head started buzzing. Bloody, blurry memories filled my vision. "Shut up!" I shrieked, cutting him off. Okay, I'll stop," my dad said quickly. "Just calm down. Next month is the anniversary of your mother's death. You don't have to see him, but you have to come back and pay your respects to your mom, right?" "No, Mom would forgive me. Going back with you all would be disrespecting her." My hand was shaking violently. I tried to press the end call button several times before I finally succeeded. Call ended, phone off. Only then did I realize Oliver hadn't left. He was waiting for me, holding Coco. In the bright sunlight, the boy's expression was unreadable. "First time I've ever heard you raise your voice at someone," he said, pausing for a beat. His voice was a little strained. "So it really is your boyfriend?" I looked up at him. The morning sun was so clean and bright. It exposed the nervousness in his eyes, leaving it nowhere to hide. I'm such an idiot. How could I have thought Oliver was being cold to me? He was still the same boy who would pick up my call at 2 in the morning, no matter how many years we hadn't spoken. But Oliver, you're an eagle destined to fly high. And I've long been trapped in a stinking swamp. How ridiculous. Just a moment ago, walking beside you. I actually dared to hope, to wish that moment could last forever. Get a grip, Ava. Get a grip. Don't you dare dream of dragging anyone else down into the mud with you. Yes, he's my boyfriend, I heard myself say, each word sharp and clear. He's from my hometown. His family is very wealthy, and he's really good to me. We're even going on a trip together next month. Oliver froze, the color draining from his face. After what felt like an eternity, Coco kicked her legs impatiently. Oliver snapped back to normal. "Oh," he said flatly. "That's nice." He took a few steps, then turned back, his eyes dark, his tone chilling. "But let me give you a piece of advice, Ava. If he's that rich and still lets his girlfriend work part-time, your boyfriend is a total loser." In an instant, my heart ached with an unbearable sourness. I quickly turned away to hide the tears I couldn't control. I heard him continue behind me, "I'll pay you for this month as usual, but you don't need to come walk the dog anymore. I wouldn't want your boyfriend to get the wrong idea." I hastily wiped away my tears and nodded numbly. The wind rustled through the treetops as I walked away quickly. I was terrified that if I slowed down, the tears would fall. "Don't do this, Ava. You don't have the right to be weak. Your mother is long gone, no one will feel sorry for your tears anymore." But hurried footsteps sounded behind me. Oliver tapped my shoulder, then quickly pulled his hand back. His tone was clipped, tinged with an unspoken hope and struggle. "By the way, before your boyfriend called, what were you going to tell me?" "About senior year, what about the things you said?" 15 minutes ago, before the phone rang." Coco was chasing a butterfly, her tail wagging. The gentle sunlight made our shadows overlap, like a long, lingering embrace. Bewitched by the breeze and the scent of flowers, I had opened my mouth to tell him that everything I said senior year was a lie, that I never hated him. That being his friend was the greatest luck Ava ever had. But I couldn't say it now. Time is a strange thing. Only 15 minutes had passed, but the light had receded from my world, and the shadows of the past had returned to swallow me whole again. Then let them swallow only me. I blinked rapidly, making all the tears disappear without a trace. Then I turned, a perfectly crafted sneer on my face. What do you want to hear from me? I stared at him coldly. You want me to say everything I said before was a lie? You want to ask if we can still be friends? The light in Oliver's eyes died, bit by bit. But my harsh tone continued. Please, Mr. Kane. You were always clinging to me when we were kids, and you're still doing it now. What is it with you? Are you really that obsessed with me? After a long time, Oliver finally spoke. His profile was hard, his voice as cold as ice. You really know how to play games, Ava. You're right, I'm pathetic. I give up. Let's not see each other again. He turned and left, his back resolute. Just like all those years ago when he silently disappeared into the sunset. Without giving me another glance. Yes, this is how it should be. Oliver came from a wealthy family, excelled in his studies, and had always been the golden boy. Knowing someone like me was one of the few unlucky things that had ever happened to him. And I had dared to stab him twice. It was unforgivable. Thankfully, Oliver, it will only be these 2 times. Never again. Really. A breeze rustled through the treetops, gently lifting the ends of my hair. I sniffled and started walking down the other end of the road. Don't look back, Ava, don't look back. But I couldn't help stealing one last glance at Oliver's back. Tall and thin, always in a gray hoodie that looked baggy but incredibly stylish. I met countless guys who loved wearing hoodies before and after that. None of them were like him. In my 5th year of working, I finally paid off all the money I owed Oliver. This time, the money went through successfully. He didn't reject it. So this is what it feels like to completely cut ties. I send it, he accepts it, and the last thread connecting us vanishes into thin air. Years ago, I worked crazy part-time jobs, wiring him money over and over, only for it to fail every time. Back then, I thought it was because he hated me so much he didn't even want the money. Now I realize it was because he couldn't bear to see me so broken down. And then, I took his silent love and stabbed it one more time. I pressed my lips together and chugged a large mouthful of horribly bitter iced Americano. Alright, Ava. Stop thinking about the past. Focus on your work. A few months later. I was at a critical point for a promotion and a raise, drowning in data for a project, when I looked up and saw my boss's strange expression. Ava, there's someone downstairs who says he's your father. Go handle it. Don't let it cause any negative buzz for the company. In an instant, my heart sank to the pit of my stomach. I ran downstairs and, sure enough, there was my father. I hadn't seen him in years. His back was a little hunched, and he had more gray hair. But his darting eyes and that greedy, oily expression were exactly the same. The moment he saw me, his face lit up, and he shot a smug look at the security guard. See? I told you I wasn't lying. That's my daughter, a graduate from a university, and now she's a manager at your company. I wasn't anything close to a manager. My face burned with shame. I quickly walked over and led my father to a coffee shop outside the building. He looked me up and down, smiling obsequiously. Ava, you've changed so much these past few years. That's a nice outfit. Must have been expensive, huh? They say a girl changes 18 times before she's a woman. Your old dad almost didn't recognize you. I stared at him coldly. How did you find me here? I had blocked every single one of my family members' contact numbers. He rubbed his hands together, a placating smile on his face. Your sister searched your name online, and there you were. You're doing well at your company, right? I saw a few articles about you getting awards. Your salary must be in the tens of thousands now, huh? I gritted my teeth, my patience gone. What do you want? But he wouldn't get to the point. He pulled out one plastic bag after another from his backpack. These are all your childhood favorites. Hibiscus cakes, egg pancakes, and zongzi. Your mom made them herself. You have 5 minutes, I said coolly. If you don't say it, I'm leaving. He finally dropped the cheap fatherly act and dabbed his eyes with a tissue. Ava, I'm sick. I have a tumor in my stomach. The doctor says there's hope if I have surgery, but without it, I'm just waiting to die. Ava, can you? I don't have any money, I said. The smile on his face froze. Ava, it's not a lot. I'll borrow some from relatives, some from friends. You don't have to pay for all of it. Borrow from relatives, borrow from friends, and in the end, I'm the one who has to pay it all back, I said flatly. It's been like this since I was a kid. I'm 27 now. Why are you still pulling the same old tricks? He looked a little embarrassed and pleaded in a low voice, Ava, you've always been so sensible. The past is the past. My illness is urgent. The doctor says if I get treated, I live. If not, I die. Ava, I'm your real father. You wouldn't just watch me die, would you? I stared at him, my face expressionless. Then go die. Splash. Scalding coffee poured over my head. My father slammed the table, his face red with rage. Ava, do you have a conscience? I'm your father. The father who raised you. I'm seriously ill and ask you for some medical expenses, and you refuse? And you call yourself a manager at a big company. He was shouting, and people around us turned to look. He instantly found his audience, pointing at me excitedly. Everyone, come and see. What kind of daughter is this? I gave her the best of everything growing up, and now that she's making money, she's become an ungrateful viper. I'm sick. And she told me to go die. I wiped the coffee from my face, my expression blank. Then call the police. Whatever the court orders me to pay you, I'll pay. I grabbed my bag and left, not bothering with the stares from the crowd. My father panicked, grabbing my arm and refusing to let go, starting to position himself as if to kneel. Ava, just $10,000. Just $10,000. I'll take the money and go to the hospital, I promise I won't spend a penny more. For the sake of the 20+ years I raised you, please help me. I laughed, looking at him coldly. Have some decency. Did you raise me for over 20 years, or did I support you for over 20 years? His gaze flickered away, avoiding mine. He just repeated, Ava, just 10,000, just 10,000. I'll never bother you again after this. Such familiar lines. Once said to someone else, now said to me. I thought I had forgotten what happened back then, but it turned out I remembered it so clearly. So clearly that just breathing felt like being pricked by needles all over my body. So much time has passed, why won't it let me go? The absurdity of fate almost made me laugh through my tears. I violently shook him off, stared into his eyes, and said, word by word. Even if I die, you will never squeeze another cent out of me. I turned and walked away. My father scrambled to follow. His chest heaved, the fat on his face shiny and red. This time he didn't shout, but chased after me, hissing in my ear. Ava, if I die, do you think you'll get off easy? I won't get treatment. I'll just tell stories downstairs from your office every day. The things that happened when you were in college, those photos. My head buzzed. I spun around, staring at him in disbelief. Photos? What photos? You took pictures? His eyes darted around, his lips trembling with excitement. I only need 10,000. Once I'm cured, we're even. No one else will ever know about those photos. Ava, you have a bright future ahead of you. Your dad is just a worthless life. I don't want your colleagues to see those pictures. Smack. I slapped him with all my might. I lunged forward and grabbed his throat. I don't care. Go tell the world. Go tell the whole world. Thump, thump, thump. The hibiscus cakes, egg pancakes, and zongzi on the table tumbled to the floor. I pinned my father against the coffee table. His face turned red as he gasped for air, his legs kicking wildly as he tried to pry my fingers off. Coffee cups toppled over, spilling brown liquid across the table before falling to the floor and shattering. I squeezed his neck with all my strength, my vision turning scarlet. Die, die, die. Small gasps of shock rose from the people around us. The coffee shop owner and a waiter cautiously approached to pull me away. Miss, calm down. Miss, please let go. Let's talk this out. Suddenly, I let go. My father, his face flushed, collapsed onto the sofa, gasping for air. The waiter let out a sigh of relief. Miss, whatever it is, we can. The next second, I bent down, picked up the largest, sharpest piece of ceramic shard, and lunged for my father's neck. In a fraction of a second. The shard didn't plunge into Gary's neck. Instead, it pierced through a hand that suddenly shot out. Blood dripped down, quickly staining the back of that person's pale hand. Gary shrieked in terror and scrambled out of the coffee shop. I clutched the shard and started to chase him. But the next second, I was pulled into a warm embrace. I screamed hysterically as people scrambled to get away. But the person holding me didn't seem to feel anything. Ignoring the bloody mess of his left hand, he used his good right hand to pat my back soothingly. It's okay, Ava. It's okay. I'm here now. The familiar voice pulled me back to reality. The red haze in my vision faded, and the world came back into focus. I looked up and saw the person's face. A strong brow, deep-set eyes, the cool gaze that had appeared in my dreams countless times was now filled with deep concern. Oliver. 7 years, and he had matured. No more hoodies. Instead, he wore a silver-gray silk shirt of excellent quality, looking refined and elegant. But the hem of that expensive shirt was already stained with blood. I had stabbed Oliver again. The realization crashed into my mind. In an instant, the screaming, crumbling desire to take the world down with me evaporated. I sank to my knees, weak, and began to sob softly. Oliver knelt down and silently pulled me into his arms. The hospital, I clutched his shirt, my voice so hoarse it was almost a whisper. We need to go to the hospital. The police arrived. Gary was long gone. And the only injured party insisted it was an accident and didn't want to press charges. So after a simple statement, the police lectured me and left. I sat on a bench in the emergency room, a cold sweat drenching my back. I was so limp I could barely move. I almost killed someone. Although in my countless nightmares, I had certainly imagined Gary dying in various ways. But in reality, this was the first time. My fingers clenched unconsciously. As if I were once again squeezing someone's neck in the empty air. A fine electric current shot up my spine, all the way to the depths of my brain. If only I had really killed him. No more threats, no more living in constant fear of when the butcher's knife from my family would fall. Let's just end it all together. My body trembled with a nervous excitement, and I was about to stand up. Then I heard the sound of leather shoes, and a figure cast a shadow over me. The scent of blood and disinfectant filled my nose. I woke as if from a dream. Oliver stood before me, his eyes dark. His left hand was wrapped in layers of bandages, a trace of blood seeping through the edge. We hadn't seen each other 7 years, and the moment we did, I gave him a bloody, mangled hand. I really am a walking disaster. My breathing became rapid again. Oliver looked at me, his dark eyes impossible to read, and said flatly, "Ms. Song, why do I get the feeling you're weaker than I am?" My boss immediately piped up, "Ava, what are you waiting for? Apologize to Mr. Kane." Right. Mr. Kane, team lead Song. That was our relationship now. 2 months ago, a lucrative major project was looking for a contractor. Countless companies were fighting for the chance. The day our company won the bid, our boss was so excited he gave us all a half-month bonus. And the person in charge of that project was Oliver. Of course, with my qualifications, I wasn't senior enough to be directly involved. Even my direct supervisor was just a small fry on the project. Half an hour ago, my boss was at the office, practically burning incense and praying as he nervously awaited the arrival of our big client. Then he got the news that one of his subordinates had stabbed Mr. Kane's hand through downstairs. In that moment, he felt like his world was ending. He rushed to the hospital to check on Mr. Kane and gave me a furious dressing down outside the emergency room. Only then did I learn that the pale-faced boy who had said, "I'm pathetic, let's not see each other again," 7 years ago, had already made a name for himself overseas and had returned to the country as a decisive leader. Time waits for no one. And the distance between Oliver and me would only grow. No, that's not right. There had always been a world of difference between us. It was Oliver's irrational affection back then that made me mistakenly think we were close. The sands of time have worn everything down, and the past has faded, finally revealing the hard truth. But thankfully, I was already used to the truth. I stood up and bowed deeply. "I'm sorry, Mr. Kane. I accidentally injured you. I am truly sorry. I will cover all subsequent medical expenses." Oliver cut me off calmly. "Then who's going to take care of me?" "Take care of him?" I froze for a second. My boss immediately read the room. "Let Ava do it. She injured you, so it's only right that she takes care of you." Oliver seemed to hesitate, looking up at him. "Is that really okay? Won't it interfere with Ms. Song's work?" My boss quickly reassured him, "Not at all, not at all. Ava was going to join the project team anyway, it was just a matter of time. Taking care of you now is the project team's most important job." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Oliver's gaze swept over me, and the corners of his pale red lips curved into a professional smile. "Very well. Then I'll be in your care, Ms. Song." Gripping the steering wheel of the Maybach, I had to concentrate fully. When we finally reached the villa complex, I let out a sigh of relief. "Mr. Kane, please get some rest. I'll pick you up tomorrow to have your dressing changed." Oliver gave me a strange look. "You're leaving already? What else?" The man held out his blood-stained left hand and said nonchalantly, "Fine, go ahead. I guess I'll just have to boil my own water, cook my own dinner, wash my own dishes, and walk the dog and pick up its poop myself. I've still got one hand left, it's fine." My blood pressure, which had been at a dead calm, shot up to 180. "Oliver, you've had drivers and maids your whole life. Who are you trying to guilt trip?" I swallowed my anger. "Mr. Kane, I'm not leaving. I'm just..." Oliver watched me with interest. My brain spun rapidly, and I said humbly, "I'm just going home to get some personal belongings so I can stay in your guest room and take care of you 24/7. Oliver nodded as if in sudden understanding. He then wrote down a number for me and said generously, "No need. Whatever you like to wear or use, just send a message to this number. Someone will deliver it within the hour. I'm going to kill you, you capitalist pig." 3 hours later, everything was sorted out. Oliver sat at the imported Italian solid wood dining table, uncomplainingly eating the egg noodles I had cooked for him. "Ms. Song," he called me for the 372nd time. I was half dead on the sofa, pretending to be asleep. The next second, the man casually pulled out his phone and muttered to himself, "I wonder if Director Chen is busy right now." I suddenly woke from my dream, a bright smile on my face. "Mr. Kane, did you just call for me?" He gave me a half smile. "Ms. Song, are you hungry?" I looked at him warily. "Not hungry." "Oh," Oliver said. "Then take the 3 Michelin star Cantonese takeout that was just delivered and give it to Coco." I immediately shot up and brought the food containers inside. Puppies can't eat too much human food, it's bad for their kidneys. I'd better eat it. My kidneys can handle it. Baked river eel, braised squab, stir-fried asparagus with shrimp, and pear and fish maw soup. It smelled divine. Coco was so excited she was running in circles at my feet. I sneakily gave her a tiny piece of the pigeon meat. Oliver leaned back, watching me feast with great interest. Finally, he said slowly, "Finished?" I forgot to ask if he wanted any. I was a little embarrassed. "Finished. It's just that these are all heating foods, which you can't eat, so I did you the favor." Oliver's smile grew wider. "Got your strength back for work?" I nodded quickly. Of course, of course. What do you need me to do?" Oliver lifted his lashes, leaned in slightly, and the slightly open collar of his shirt revealed the elegant line of his collarbone. I unnaturally averted my gaze. The next second, I heard his light, husky voice. "Come here. Help me take off my belt." Can't he unbuckle a belt with one hand? Why does he need a single woman to help him with his belt? Are we that close? What gives you the right to order me around like this? Just as I was about to argue, Oliver flexed his injured left hand and frowned in confusion. Why does it suddenly hurt so much? All my rebellious thoughts vanished instantly. I immediately knelt down obediently and focused on unbuckling his belt. Yes, this is what I should be doing. I am a single woman, but more importantly, I am the culprit who stabbed through his palm. He was gracious enough not to demand compensation. What's a little belt in comparison? But I had truly never unbuckled another person's belt before. My fingers accidentally brushed against his abs several times. The man's breathing audibly hitched, and he let out an unreadable TSK. At the critical moment, I braced myself and yanked the belt out. Before he could say anything dangerous, I pushed him into the bathroom. "Mr. Kane, go take your shower. I'll wait for you right outside the door." Oliver glanced back with a smile, a meaningful look in his eyes. The sound of rushing water filled the bathroom. This stupid French imported glass door was ridiculously clear. The man's long limbs, broad shoulders, narrow waist, and firm abs were a blurry silhouette moving behind the glass. The sight made my mouth a little dry. Coco jumped onto my lap with a toy in her mouth, her big, round eyes staring at me without blinking. I suddenly felt guilty. "It's not what you think, puppy. I'm not a pervert. I'm just appreciating art." Thankfully, Oliver didn't ask me to help dry him off. But probably because it was difficult with one hand, his bathrobe was tied messily, forming a deep V at the collar. His full, but not overly muscular, chest, abs, and V-line were all on display. I tried my best not to stare as I adjusted his smart mattress, leaving only a night light on, as respectful as a real maid. "Mr. Kane, you should rest. Call me if you need anything." "Rest?" The man's dark eyes stared at me, his voice slow. "I have a habit of listening to a bedtime story." "Oliver, you little brat, did growing up to be the boss make you this annoying?" I resignedly pulled out my phone and started searching for Grimm's fairy tales. I had barely read 2 lines of The Wolf and the 7 Young Goats. Oliver spoke up. "I don't want to hear this one." I swallowed my anger and started reading The Singing Bone. Not 2 minutes in, Oliver said, "Change it." I practically gritted my teeth. "Then what do you want to hear?" The night was deep. The orange glow of the small nightlight was soft. The aromatherapy in the bedroom was light and fresh. Oliver looked up at me and, without warning, said, "Tell me your story." I froze. On the soft, large bed, the man's expression was unreadable. "Ava, it's been 7 years. How have you been?" Ava. That name, so familiar yet so distant, brought with it a flood of radiant memories from the past. They were as enchanting as a siren's song, making me want to drown myself in their gentle waves. "But, Ava, don't forget. You are not an innocent sailor, you are a prisoner, stained with sin. Prisoners have no right to reminisce." Where Oliver couldn't see, I dug my nails into my thigh. Then I smiled, a perfect and professional smile. "I've been great. Today was just an accident. I was just really angry. But normally, I'm doing really well." Life is good, work is going smoothly, and my bosses and colleagues all look out for me. Oliver stared at me intently. Really? I nodded sincerely. Of course. I've eaten at all the best restaurants in the city, visited all the nearby attractions, and next month I'm planning a trip to Bali to see the crystal clear water. But you're always crying. Oliver cut me off suddenly, his voice soft. Crying your heart out. It wakes me up at night. What was he talking about? I frowned. What are you saying? We've never. The man picked up a beautiful doll from his pillow. It wore a Dior dress, a Tiffany necklace, and a Chanel camellia in its long hair. That was my empathy doll. Oliver gently tucked a stray strand of the doll's hair behind its ear, his voice light, as if he were talking about something that had nothing to do with him. For the past 7 years, your doll has cried every night. Most of the time, it's silent tears. Sometimes, it's heartbroken sobs. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't help but wonder why you were crying, what had happened, and if anyone was there to help you. But your doll can't speak. His quiet voice echoed in the night, the sound quickly fading. The light from the small lamp in the corner was soft and dim, but my eyes stung as if pierced by it. The man on the bed watched me peacefully, his hands folded, and calmly repeated his question. Ava, these past 7 years, have you really been okay? Oliver's gaze was too gentle, like an ocean that could embrace everything. For a fleeting moment, I wanted to throw caution to the wind and tell him everything. But I couldn't. 7-year-old Oliver and Ava were best friends. 27-year-old us were just Mr. Kane and team lead Song. Mr. Kane was born into privilege, sharp-minded, and powerful. He had elegant, beautiful admirers from similar backgrounds and would have a marriage that others envied. Team lead Song was just a worker bee at a contracting firm, writing reports and managing projects, who could lose out in the promotion race at any moment. Tell him, and then what? Hide under the warm wings he built with his money again? Oliver might not mind, but I couldn't be that shameless. I came from nothing and had learned to be feisty, shameless, and hard-hearted to survive the daily onslaught of malice. But someone as bright and brilliant as Oliver deserved a bright and brilliant life. He couldn't be subjected to gossip and ridicule because of me. Just imagining it made it hard to breathe. The night was silent. The humidifier hummed softly. Oliver was still waiting for my answer. Ava, these past 7 years, have you really been okay? I have, Oliver. So please, stop worrying about me. I looked down and smiled. I don't understand what you're talking about, Mr. Kane. Your doll might be broken and need repairs. I don't see what its tears have to do with me, or what I need to explain to you. Oliver stared at me, unmoving, as if trying to see through my skin and into my soul. I stood up, all business. Mr. Kane, it's getting late. You should get some rest. The next second, the man swung himself off the bed, his movements swift and powerful, like a predator. He slammed me against the wall. Miss Song, Oliver's breath brushed the top of my head, tinged with a cool smile. Ever read Pinocchio? Liars' noses grow long. He slowly lowered his head, his nose gently brushing against mine. Meticulous, focused, as if conducting a scientific experiment. His rosy lips moved closer and then away, our breaths tangling together, so close that even our heartbeats seemed to resonate. I frantically turned my head away, my voice trembling. Mr. Kane, I don't know what you're talking. My lips were suddenly covered, my teeth parted as his tongue skillfully invaded, teasing and soothing. The sound of our kiss filled the air. I couldn't breathe. My legs went weak. All the blood rushed to my head. All I could do was cling to his waist. Oliver pulled away, looking unsatisfied, and scooped me up with one arm. The expensive mattress sank under the weight of 2 adults. In my daze, I heard his smiling voice. The results are in. Miss Song's nose has definitely gotten longer. I slept soundly through the night. The nightmares that plagued me every evening miraculously vanished. When I woke up, I was curled up in a man's arms. I froze for a second, then tried to discreetly inch away, but a hand pressed against my lower back, pushing me, inch by inch, back toward his warm body. Until there was no space between us. Eat and run? Oliver drawled, a hint of grievance in his voice. Is this how you do business, Miss Song? My face was so red it felt like it was about to drip blood. I whispered in my defense, we're both adults. I didn't exactly knock you out and force you. Oliver nodded in agreement. You're right. I offered myself up on a silver platter for your tasting pleasure, Miss Song. My ears burned. I forced a change of subject. Isn't it getting late? I should take you to the hospital to get your dressing changed. Oliver grumbled, now you remember I'm an invalid? Last night you were scratching and biting, look at my back. My ears buzzed, and I immediately scrambled to cover his mouth. His eyes were full of laughter as he placed a soft kiss on my palm. The morning light was faint. Oliver looked at me intently. A thought seemed to cross his mind, and a smile curved his lips. His voice, muffled by my hand, was thick and intimate. Good morning, Ava. It's so good to see you. I had been absent for days, and naturally, some people at the company were talking. Director Chen casually said I was on a business trip. Laura, another team lead, frowned with deep concern. Really? I thought it was because Ava got into that huge fight with her dad the other day. I figured she was too embarrassed to show her face and just quit. Her words instantly changed the mood in the calm meeting. A few colleagues who weren't in the know were hungry for gossip. Laura covered her mouth in mock surprise, her voice dripping with worry. Oh, you didn't know? Ava's dad has cancer, but she refuses to pay a single cent for his treatment. She even told him to go die. They got into a huge fight, and Ava almost choked him to death. The room erupted in whispers. Many pretended to take notes, but their fingers were flying across their keyboards, rapidly sharing the juicy gossip in their private chats. A few of my subordinates exchanged anxious glances and started messaging me frantically. Amidst the clatter of keyboards, Laura allowed herself a hidden smile. Director Chen shot her a glare and tapped the table. All right, let's stick to relevant topics. Laura nodded in agreement, but then, as if remembering something, she spoke up again with concern. But honestly, Ava just up and left. Her work handover was only done online the next morning. I heard a police car was parked downstairs that day. Do you think, maybe Ava got taken to the station? The room fell silent. Several pairs of eyes glanced over her head, landing on me at the doorway. Laura, oblivious, fiddled with her nails and sighed dramatically. Well, this is just great. Now I'm the only one from our department who can present at this afternoon's promotion review. I feel a little bad about it, honestly. Director Chen, who was facing the door, nearly had a stroke when he saw me. He tried several times to cut Laura off, but failed. I leaned against the wall and scoffed. You've been up for this promotion every year and failed every time. It's normal to feel bad. But the fact that you're only starting to feel bad this year makes you a real piece of work. Laura's head snapped around stiffly. When she saw me, her expression was a kaleidoscope of emotions. Finally, she managed to squeak out, Ava, when did you get back? Why didn't you tell us? I said sympathetically, I heard that while I was gone, you didn't manage to save a single one of your projects, Laura. I figured you'd be busy blaming your boss, your team, and the competition. How could I possibly disturb you? People in the office stifled their laughter. Two of them were Laura's direct reports. They bit their lips so hard, running through every sad memory they had, that they finally had to open their laptops to hide their uncontrollably grinning faces. Laura, that gossip, had personal ethics as rotten as her professional skills. Relying on her connections at headquarters, she'd lash out at everyone whenever something went wrong. Everyone in the company had been on the receiving end of her rants. My team and I, being her direct competitors, were her favorite targets for passive-aggressive digs. I could let it slide when I wasn't there, but now that I'd caught her in the act, did she really expect me to just take it? How would I be able to lead my team after that? Laura, losing face, quickly retorted. Oh, come on, Ava. Don't say that. It's only because you were absent that all the work was dumped on me. If you were just a little more dedicated to your job, we wouldn't have had to work so hard. You know, no good deed goes unpunished these days. I work my butt off to help a colleague, and all I get is sarcasm. I looked at her, confused. Who said I was absent? Laura, are you my direct supervisor? Laura froze for a second before remembering that the director had said I was on a business trip. Her eyes darted around, and she covered her mouth with her hand, her smile turning suggestive. Oh, Ava. Everyone knows you and the director are close. You're young and pretty. If the director says you were on a business trip, then you were on a business trip. Who are we to argue? The bitch. She got ahead through unsavory means, so now she was spreading rumors about others. A vein throbbed on Director Chen's forehead. Even with his years of maintaining a professional poker face, he was ready to forget about Laura's connections. Laura, watch your mouth. Ava was indeed on a business trip. Laura smiled sweetly. Of course, of course. A month-long business trip with 0 results. Sign me up for a sweet deal like that next time. Our company was results-driven. I had just called her out on her poor performance, so she was hitting back the same way. But unfortunately for her, I opened my laptop, connected it to the projector, and opened a PowerPoint without looking up. The words Project X Progress Report appeared on the white wall. Only then did I slowly rise, a small smile on my face. Everyone, this is actually why I came back to the office today. I'm here to update you all on the progress of Project X and to assign key tasks for the upcoming month. I nodded at one of my subordinates. The young woman understood and quickly began taking meeting minutes. After a few slides, Director Chen's smile grew wider and wider. Ava, hold on a second. I'm going to get the head of business to join us. Everyone's eyes lit up, especially my subordinates. The head of business was always busy and only showed up for extremely important projects. For him to be invited to a simple departmental weekly meeting meant that the project's progress was exceptional. After Director Chen left, I called my subordinates over for a small huddle to catch up on their work while I was away. On the other side of the long table, Laura's team was silent, and her own expression grew uglier by the minute. With the boss gone, her words became even more reckless. Who knows how you even landed that project? You disappeared for so long, you probably negotiated it in a hotel bed. I gave her a subtle look. A hotel wasn't far off, though it was a certain someone who insisted on dragging me to bed for a massage while I was trying to have a serious business discussion. It's not that the contractor is incompetent, it's that the client is too cunning. Laura interpreted my expression as mockery. Her chest heaved, and she said coldly, "Beating up your own father, sleeping with clients to close deals, it's no wonder I lost to you. I'm just not as shameless as you are." At that exact moment, the glass door was pushed open. Déjà vu. Standing in the doorway was a sharply dressed Oliver, flanked by a blank-faced head of business and Director Chen. Oliver turned to the head of business and asked politely, "Is this how your employees normally speculate about their partners and outstanding colleagues?" The head of business's face turned ashen. He shot Laura a death glare and said with a forced smile, "This is an isolated incident." An isolated incident. We have the utmost respect for our partners and are always happy to reward our top-performing employees. Oliver nodded with a smile, then, as if remembering something, said casually, "I won't be joining you for lunch today. I've lost my appetite." The head of business's face was a colorful mess. In that moment, he looked like he wanted to kill Laura. The progress report and promotion review both ended perfectly. Laura, the incompetent fool, was naturally passed over again, while I was promoted to the long vacant position of manager, making me Laura's direct supervisor. The head of business normally wouldn't have attended our department's promotion review. But to save face in front of Mr. Kane, he personally came to our meeting room. And after my presentation, he showered me with praise for my performance since joining the company, especially my contributions to Project X. Business is business. I had cracked every tough nut on Project X myself. No one else in the company could have done what I did. Professionally and personally, I had a clear conscience. I accepted the praise from the head of business and Director Chen gracefully, but I also humbly shared the credit with every colleague who supported the project. After the meeting, Laura's expression was a sight to behold. She sidled up to me with a forced smile, looking like she wanted to say something. I couldn't be bothered with her. I immediately called over my subordinates and began delegating tasks with enthusiasm. And then, of course, it was time to continue my business trip. Oliver's hand hadn't fully healed, and Project X required travel to multiple cities, both domestic and international. For the sake of the project, and for the sake of the delicate, helpless client, I had to keep traveling. In the underground garage, Mr. Kane's Maybach was parked in the best spot. I was typing away, replying to messages, when I realized the person in the passenger seat had been silent for a long time. Mr. Kane was not used to being ignored. The look he was giving me was so intense it felt like he wanted to devour me. I shrank back, instinctively closing my laptop and asking respectfully, "Mr. Kane, where are we heading next?" The handsome, tall man slowly toyed with a strand of my hair, not letting me off the hook. To defend someone's honor, I had to turn down a 5-star luxury meal. I still haven't eaten anything. My scalp tightened. My treat. Whatever you want. Oliver shot back, "Really?" I nodded quickly. "Really?" A wide grin spread across his face. "Then come have dinner with me at my parents' house." My smile froze. Oliver, oblivious, pressed my hand to his chest, his words tumbling out excitedly. "My dad has a rule that no matter how busy everyone is, we have to have a family dinner once a month. It's our family day. Today happens to be it. Come with me." I gently lowered my head and pulled my hand away from his chest. "I'm sorry, I don't want to go." A beautiful piano concerto filled every corner of the car through the top-of-the-line sound system. It was peaceful, gentle, like a spring breeze. But the atmosphere inside the car was incredibly tense. Oliver's smile slowly faded. After a long pause, he spoke, his voice devoid of emotion. "Give me a reason." I suddenly didn't have the courage to look up at him. In that instant, I was a child again, repeatedly asking Oliver for money, my head bowed, unable to lift it. For the past few weeks, we had spent every moment together. We talked about work, his wound, our nights together, but we both tacitly avoided the realities of our lives. Oliver didn't ask why I had flown into a rage and tried to kill my father. He didn't ask who was calling me late at night, the calls I always rejected. And I didn't ask if the rumors about his arranged marriage were true, or if the supposedly elegant daughter of the prestigious Jiao family was really going to be his fiancée. The world is too cruel. I just wanted a fleeting dream. To drown in a soft, hazy paradise with someone. But when the curtain rises, please don't tell me it was all an illusion, that behind paradise is hell. It's not that I didn't know. I just consciously surrendered to desire, racing against time to live and love with him before the ship of fate capsized, to steal one more kiss. The music was nearing its end. The first-class passengers were still lost in their revelry, but the stowaway in the cargo hold should retreat back into the shadows as scheduled, never to appear again. Who was I, in what capacity, with what right? To attend a family dinner with Oliver? I hastily packed up my laptop and accessories, shoving them all into my bag. "I'll arrange for a reliable driver for you. Your hand needs another checkup the day after tomorrow. There's no other work to review this week. Next week, I'll send someone to accompany you to the site visits. Contact me if you need anything." Click. The seatbelt unbuckled. I finally gathered enough courage to look at him, my expression professional and polite. "Goodbye, Mr. Kane." The next second, I was slammed back into my seat. The man leaned over me, his teeth gritted. "Ava, This damn habit you have of running away whenever things get tough, where the hell did you learn it? Our foreheads touched. Our noses brushed. An intimate, whispering posture. But Oliver looked like he wanted to bite my head off. There was no room left for me to avoid his gaze. But as I looked at him, all I wanted to do was cry. Oliver's expression slowly softened into confusion. The fingers that had been pressing against my lips, at first firm, now felt as light as a feather. My doll is about to cry again, isn't it? He sighed in my ear. Ava, what am I going to do with you? Tears spilled down my cheeks against my will. I frantically turned my head and pushed him. Let me go. I want to get out. But Oliver held me even tighter, whispering stubbornly in my ear, no. If I let you go, you'll just run again. I pushed him, bit him, even kicked him. He didn't budge. Finally, completely spent, I collapsed against his shoulder and sobbed. Oliver said nothing, just gently patted my back, like he was comforting a heartbroken child. What happened, Ava? Tell me. We'll solve it together, okay? I shook my head through my tears. You can only solve things that haven't happened yet. Things that have already happened are like brands, and even if you carve out the flesh, you can never go back to how it was. Let me guess. Your father, your stepmom, your sister. They want more money, is that it? Oliver watched my eyes gently, observing my expression, then smiled reassuringly and tapped my nose. That's easy to solve, Ava. I promise you, I am very, very rich. If a little money can buy you some peace, it's no different to me than rescuing a kitten or a puppy. You don't have to feel bad about it. My eyes filled with tears. I shook my head desperately. It's not that, Oliver. It's not just that. Wrong guess? Oliver wrinkled his nose, his gaze dropping in thought. Then, do they have something on you? Did you help them kill someone or commit arson? I managed a tearful smile and shook my head slightly. Oliver grinned and clapped his hands together. Then that's simple. Ava, you have to believe me, your man is incredibly capable. As long as it's not murder or arson, he can fix anything. I stared at him, dumbfounded. He slowly reached out to embrace me, his movements incredibly gentle, as if he were afraid of startling a naturally timid animal. So, Ava, you don't have to tell me what you went through. I'm not curious. As long as you're willing to let me be by your side when you cry, that's enough. Oliver carefully placed a light kiss on my fingertips, looking at me like a believer gazing at a god. Patiently, devotedly, waiting for my answer. Ava, can you give me a chance? No one could say no to this Oliver. I met Oliver because our grandmothers were neighbors. The slight difference was that my grandmother was from a long line of local farmers. His grandmother was a visitor from the big city who liked the lush greenery and built a vacation home here. Even though my family later benefited from the kindness of Oliver's grandmother, moving to the city and allowing me to attend the same school as him. Today was still the first time I was meeting his parents. The traditional courtyard was elegant and tidy, a new scene with every step. A winding path led to a place with trickling water and swaying bamboo, full of charm. A few more steps, past a crystal bead curtain, and I was greeted by a massive, famous calligraphy painting. An authentic masterpiece that would fetch a fortune at auction was just casually placed by the entrance, without even a frame. I silently marveled at the depth of Oliver's family background. I started frantically trying to recall the 80 classic poems and 60 Song Dynasty lyrics I had memorized in elementary school, desperately trying to remember what a character in a classic novel said when she first visited a great house. What should I call Oliver's parents? Mr. and Mrs. Kane? Uncle and Auntie? Was there a more noble, elegant term? How could I possibly hide my greedy, shallow, and utterly unsophisticated true self? A series of crisp sounds came from not far away. Could it be that Oliver's family was floating wine cups down a stream and playing poetry games? My legs suddenly felt a little weak. I looked at Oliver nervously. Are your parents, like, super noble and cultured? If I can't recite poetry, are they going to kick me out? Oliver stared at me, then suddenly burst out laughing. He reached up and ruffled my hair, about to say something, but was cut off by a voice from nearby. Is that Oliver and Ava? Come on in. I'm about to participate in a high society poetry game, don't be nervous, Ava. Remember the period dramas you've watched. My legs trembled. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and stepped over the threshold in a few strides, opening my mouth to say, my lord and lady, I. 5 of dots. Kong. Kong from the wall for the win. Damn it, I lost again. Several voices rang out almost simultaneously. I opened my eyes in shock. The 4 people at the mahjong table all turned to look at me. Their expressions, in order, were, what did the kid just call me? Did my ears just go blind? And whatever, let the kid say what she wants. Beside me, Oliver tried to hold it in, but finally burst into loud laughter, almost shaking the mahjong tiles off the table. In the corner, Oliver looked baffled. You mean that Zhang Daqian painting at the entrance? That's a replica. They're like $30 a pop. I almost bit my tongue. $30? Oliver nodded as if it were obvious. What else? The real one sold for 250 million Hong Kong dollars at Sotheby's. We're not laundering money, who would buy that thing? I pressed on, unconvinced. Then, your house's decor. So noble and elegant, so profound. Definitely not the kind of aesthetic an ordinary family could have. Oliver thought for a moment, then said confidently, one of my dad's friends was short on cash, so he used this courtyard as collateral to borrow money from us. But my dad said he's not going to make him pay it back. There's a lot of land here, good for growing scallions and peppers and stuff. And the yard is big, perfect for square dancing. I was stunned again. Huh? Square dancing? Oliver thought for a moment, then asked, what, you like it too? I nodded tremulously. Oliver was thrilled. That's great. No mother-in-law problems in the future. My mom's favorite music is by this pop duo, Phoenix Legend. He happily pulled me forward and stopped at the mahjong table, his eyes scanning the chips before landing on the person with the biggest stack. He then hip-checked his dad out of the way and pushed me into the grand chair. Ava, I remember you loved playing mahjong as a kid. Want to play a few rounds? I felt like I was sitting on a throne, fidgety and anxious. I stammered, oh, well, I'm not very good. Maybe your uncle should keep playing. Oliver's dad, who had been glaring at his son, immediately broke into a smile. No, Ava, you play. I'll watch. Oliver encouraged me further. My grandpa, grandma, and mom were all once the mahjong champions of this neighborhood. You have to play seriously. Respect your opponents. I nodded solemnly. The tiles clacked together. I focused intently on drawing and calculating, not even having time to eat the fruit Oliver fed me. Naturally, I missed the gossipy smiles exchanged between Oliver's grandma and mom. We played round after round, and before I knew it, it was almost dark. When we counted the chips at the end, I had even more than what Oliver's dad had started me with. My eyes were glazed over. I looked at Oliver like a lost soul. Mahjong champions? Oliver leaned in and whispered, there were only 4 contestants. I was speechless. Having inexplicably swept the board against all the elders, I wanted to die of embarrassment. But to my surprise, the elders were all delighted. They felt they had met their match, a true meeting of minds. After mahjong, Oliver's mom warmly invited me to try her new culinary creation, spicy fried fish scales. After a small taste, I declared that such a delicacy couldn't be enjoyed by me alone and insisted that Oliver join in. Oliver, of course, also understood the virtue of sharing, and went to great lengths to invite his father, who was fertilizing chili peppers, to come and feast. Oliver's dad looked around and saw that only 2 old people were left, so he had no choice but to heroically eat, and thus transformed into a mermaid. A perfect day, which ended with the singing and dancing to Phoenix Legends. I'm looking up, above the moon, how many dreams are flying free. Among the performances, Oliver's grandpa's pole dance received the most applause. Truly spry for his age. The days passed. Project X was a resounding success, and the project director specifically praised me during the year-end review. Laura's backer at HQ was investigated for corruption, so my colleagues no longer had to put up with her. Laura, who was great at dishing it out but couldn't take it, became a nervous wreck and resigned. Gary harassed me a few more times, but he either ended up in a holding cell or was accidentally beaten up by security. I don't know how his illness is, but I never gave him another cent. I hope it's serious. As for Coco, I became her favorite person. Because whenever she would come bounding into the bedroom, tail wagging, Oliver would launch himself out of bed, furiously scoop her up, and slam the door shut. The little dog was confused, wronged. She had only heard someone whimpering and crying for help, something about let go of the doll. The little dog tilted her not-so-bright head, then attacked her jerky with gusto. She had to eat up to be strong enough to save the humans. The evening sun cast a sliver of light on the floor, and a breeze rustled the curtains. The ever-busy Mr. Kane, finished with his day's work, was meticulously braiding my hair. His clumsy technique was identical to the braid on the doll's head. He finally admitted that the doll wasn't the dog's toy, but his most precious treasure, something to be cherished and protected. And as I watched the man with his head bowed in the mirror, I easily asked the question I never dared to ask before. Oliver, be honest. What's the deal with you and that girl from the Zhao family? Oliver racked his brain. Could you give your humble servant a hint? I huffed. Olivia Zhao. Oliver snapped his fingers. Oh, her. She wants to be my aunt. Huh. It's true, Oliver said confidently. She's super into my younger uncle, but he said he's not interested in a May-December romance, so Olivia keeps pestering me to put something in my uncle's drink. I didn't know what to say to that. She's something else, I said dryly. Oliver wrapped his arms around me mischievously. I can be pretty something else too. Want to find out again? I pushed him away, feigning seriousness. No need. I'm well aware. Oliver grinned and pulled me into his arms, planting a firm kiss on my cheek, his tone teasing. Manager Song, your projects should be wrapping up soon, right? Have you considered getting engaged, maybe married? My grandparents have already packed up 3 boxes of family heirlooms. They're just waiting for you to say yes, and then they'll buy insurance and hire a security company to ship them over. I was silent for a moment, about to say something. Oliver, as if reading my mind, waved his hand dismissively. My parents said our wedding doesn't have to be traditional. Both sets of parents can be completely absent. But if you want, they can act as your parents, and my uncle and Olivia can be mine. I couldn't help but laugh. I wrapped my arms around his neck and placed a gentle kiss on his lips. I do. I was at the wedding rehearsal when I got the call from Gary. I had changed my number long ago, but some young people these days have a skill called doxing, and they can easily find all of a person's information. And my sister, Jenna, was very good with the internet. The moment I heard Gary's voice, my instinct was to hang up. But my hands were wet that day, and I fumbled with the phone. That gave Gary enough time to get a full sentence out. Ava, you're getting married soon, right? Dad has a big gift for you. You have to see it. I dried my hands with a paper towel, not bothering to say a word, and just hung up and blocked the number. The bustling and cheerful atmosphere in the dressing room didn't change because of that call. But when the stylist couldn't find my wedding shoes, she called out, "Where are the bride's shoes?" I slapped my forehead. They were rubbing a bit. Oliver took them to get them adjusted. But thinking about it, he should have been back by now. I called him. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. Oliver was never like this. He always answered my calls, no matter how busy he was. If he knew he would be unavailable, he would tell me in advance so I wouldn't worry. Just then, Hannah walked in with several large bags, her face beaming. "You've all been working so hard." The groom ordered fruit platters and snacks for everyone. "Take a break and recharge." She was my college roommate and my maid of honor. We had always been close, and our friendship hadn't changed even after years of graduation. I asked casually, "Where's Oliver?" Hannah plopped down next to me. "He was just at the front desk. Someone dropped something off for you, and Oliver signed for it." "Looked like a book you bought?" "I did order a book online, but it was supposed to be delivered to our house." "So what was this book that was sent to the hotel?" Seeing my silence, Hannah suddenly seemed to remember something. She said cautiously, "But, did you two have a fight?" Oliver opened the package and then ran out. He looked furious, like he was ready to kill someone. Invisible threads began to connect in the air. A bolt of lightning seemed to strike me down. "Your dad is just a worthless life. The things that happened when you were in college, those photos. A big gift for you." Ding. My phone lit up again. Not a call, but a text. The message contained only one photo, a girl lying in the middle of a dim room, her body covered in bruises, unable to move. The bloody memories hidden in the corners of my mind slowly rose like a tide, once again flooding my vision. Terrified screams and maniacal laughter came from all directions, pressing on my eardrums. For a moment it was as if I was back in the deep winter years ago, a helpless young girl again. Dizzy. Nauseous. Hannah grabbed me, her voice filled with fear. Ava, are you okay?" I clutched her sleeve. "It's my father," I could barely breathe. "Oliver went to find my father." Hannah froze. Our eyes met, and she understood. She said nothing, just half dragged, half carried me to the front desk. "Did you see which way Mr. Kane went after he left?" The front desk staff exchanged glances. No one knew. Outside the hotel, the wind howled, slapping against my face like a cold hand. "Get it together, Ava. Get it together. You're 28, not 18. You're strong now. You could strangle Gary with your bare hands. Don't fall apart, Ava. Don't fall apart. For the 18-year-old you, for the 28-year-old Oliver. Don't let them break you. You have to end this yourself. Get up, get up, get up, get up." It was as if my mother was whispering to me from somewhere far away. An unprecedented calm and strength filled my spine. I steadied myself against the doorframe and grabbed Hannah's hand, my words clear and hard. "Oliver just left, he didn't take his car keys, so he can't be far. You take a few reliable people and search to the east. Get a few others to come with me to the west. Contact Oliver's assistant, have him track Oliver's phone. Tell him I'm waiting at the hotel, that our wedding is tomorrow, and tell him not to do anything stupid." Hannah's expression was grim. She nodded forcefully, then looked at me with worry. "What about you?" I had already turned to walk west. "I'll be fine." When I found Gary, he was sitting in the courtyard of a small motel, eating a freshly bought piece of fried chicken. The motel was probably a privately run guest house. There was no one at the front desk, just a lucky cat waving its arm back and forth. Gary seemed completely oblivious, still engrossed in his food. I let out a sigh of relief. Thank God, I found him before Oliver did. I hadn't seen him in a year. Gary's cheeks were pathologically swollen, his arms were stick-thin, but his stomach was round and large. He hadn't been lying. He really was seriously ill and didn't have the money for surgery. The moment he saw me, Gary's eyes lit up. "Ava, you're here." He wiped his hands on his clothes, his face plastered with a fawning smile. "All grown up, about to be a bride. Dad is happy, so happy for you." I gently closed the gate and looked at him coldly. "I heard you had a big gift for me." The autumn wind picked up. Gary avoided my gaze and mumbled, "Ava, I really had no other choice. The doctor said if I don't get surgery, I'll die. I couldn't borrow money from anyone." He pointed to his round belly and gave a bitter smile. When I found out you were marrying Oliver, I was so happy. That kid has liked you since you were little, and his family is rich. He listens to you. Dad is relieved to know you'll be well taken care of. But, Ava, on your wedding day, you wouldn't want to see your father die, would you? That would be such bad luck, right? Just $5,000. The doctor said if I pay $5,000 up front, I can have the surgery. I even asked about the hotel for your wedding. 2 tables cost more than that. Just treat it like you're giving money to a beggar, okay? Just think of your dad as a beggar. Under the setting sun, Gary spoke excitedly, spit flying from his mouth. The greedy look in his eyes was exactly the same as it was 7 years ago when he demanded money from the newly rich man leaving my bedroom. Good, Gary. You haven't changed a bit. That's good. The fruit knife in my back pocket pressed hard against my spine. I felt its cold edge. Of all the things I wanted to say, I could only manage a few. You know, since the day I left home, I've worked really hard. I thought, I can't choose my family, but I can build a new life with my own 2 hands. For these past 8 years, I've given it my all, endured so much, and finally managed to live like a normal person. But now you've made me realize that someone like me can never have a normal life. Gary, still unaware of what was about to happen, watched my expression and began slapping his own face, over and over. Ava, Dad knows he's wronged you, but Ava, Dad didn't want to. What father doesn't love his daughter, right? I asked flatly, is your way of loving me taking pictures of my body when I was at my most vulnerable? Gary gave a sheepish grin. Dad was just joking with you. I never meant for anyone else to see them. Really? Otherwise, I would have passed them out to all your guests at your wedding tomorrow, right? Dad wouldn't do that. You're my daughter. You're supposed to take care of me in my old age. The wedding. Pass them out to the guests. I closed my eyes and let out a weary sigh. It's always the same. Target me, then drag the people who love me down with you. Everything is a chip on your gambling table. But this time, I'm the one dealing. Gary was still rambling on. And my hand had already pulled the fruit knife from my back pocket. 28-year-old Ava exercised regularly, focusing on building her strength. All those days of lifting and pulling were probably for this moment. In a fraction of a second, I lunged forward. The air rushed past my ears. Gary's terrified, aging face grew larger in front of me. I stabbed him through the chest. The blade tore through skin, grated against bone, and I pushed it deeper with even more force. Blood gushed out. Gary clutched his chest and stumbled back, screaming, "Murder! Murder!" But I already had my hands around his neck. Yes, you're not wrong. I'm going to kill you. I will kill you. I will lay you to rest right here, and bury you along with all the pain you've caused me. My knuckles were white, the veins on the back of my hand bulging. Gary's swollen face turned purple under my grip as he struggled for breath. Bitch. He gasped out the words, his hand fumbling for something, then yanking it hard. Crash. His backpack fell to the ground, and stacks of developed photos scattered everywhere. Hundreds of pictures of a bruised and broken Ava, lying on a filthy floor, taken by her own father and printed out, ready to be handed to every wedding guest. This was his wedding gift to me. Endless blackmail. As long as he was alive, as long as I was alive, as long as Oliver still loved me. He could destroy me. Who gave you permission to destroy me? My face was expressionless as I tightened my grip, my arms straining until they were numb. Gary's face was purple, his eyes bulging as he kicked his legs in vain. Gradually, his gasps grew fainter and fainter. His kicking stopped. The last rays of the setting sun filled the courtyard, stretching my shadow long. I finally let go, pulled the knife from his chest, and mechanically raised my arm. One strike, right in the heart. Another, across the artery in his neck. The last one, through his eye socket. You once watched greedily, like an animal, as your own daughter's violated body suffered. So now, you get it all back. Blood flowed freely. The man on the ground was dead. I sat down on the ground, my face blank, and looked up at the sky for a while. A beautiful sunset, pale pink and lavender. I could have had this, but it doesn't matter now. That's just life. It doesn't matter. I rubbed my tired eyes and pulled out my phone. Dozens of missed calls from Oliver. Even now, he was still calling. My finger paused, then I rejected his call, opened the dial pad, and cleared my throat. Hello, I've just killed someone. The case sparked huge public debate. The Kane family hired the best legal team for me. They started with the police report from when my cousin assaulted me at 18, then the $10,000 receipt Gary wrote to the newly rich man when I was 20. Countless pieces of evidence were laid out, all in an effort to minimize my legal responsibility. The debate over legal ethics continued. Some argued that no matter what you go through, you shouldn't kill, while many more furiously retorted, easy for you to say. Gradually, others with similar experiences began to speak up. 1, 2, then 8 girls of different ages came forward to report their fathers, teachers, and bosses for assault. This pushed discussions about social support systems and legislation for the protection of women and children to the forefront. Given the importance of the case and the public outcry, the provincial prosecutor's office assigned a special team to review the files, thoroughly examine the facts and evidence, and guide the case. The court postponed the trial twice. The official hearing took place the following spring. In the witness box sat Oliver in a black suit, Hannah, who knew my past, and even my stepmother and Jenna, whom I hadn't seen in years. Countless gazes were fixed on me, hot, sorrowful, sympathetic, admiring, guilty, angry. I never looked up to meet any of them. This time, I didn't need a knife to hold me up. Whatever judgment fate had for me, I would bear it all. 3 months later, the court delivered its verdict. The defendant, Ava Song, was found to have intentionally killed the victim, Gary Song, with a knife, in the context of long-term sexual humiliation and blackmail. Although the act was premeditated and resulted in a severe outcome, the victim bore significant fault, and the crime was committed in a state of extreme emotional distress. Considering her confession and the socially understandable nature of her reaction, in accordance with the relevant provisions of the criminal law, the defendant, Ava Song, is found guilty of intentional homicide and sentenced to 15 years in prison, with a 3-year deprivation of political rights. It was the best possible outcome. I did not appeal. Oliver applied to visit me several times, but I refused. My lawyer told me he was in a very bad state. I stared at the corner of the table for a long time before replying softly, "This too shall pass. This too shall pass. As long as I don't give him anything to hold on to, even the most beautiful memories will eventually fade. When I get out in over a decade, Oliver will be in his 40s, with a loving wife and children, a happy family, and a successful career. That should be his life. The best life." In my 2nd year in prison, Oliver's grandmother came to visit. I could refuse Oliver, refuse his parents, but I couldn't refuse the old woman who had shown me such kindness when I was young. On the other side of the glass, she was white-haired, but her smile was still the same, kind yet dignified. She told me Oliver was sick. A sickness of the heart. He was wasting away, pale and thin. They had seen all the famous doctors in the country, but nothing helped. A perfectly healthy man, now just a bag of bones, she described him. That year, Oliver was 30. He hadn't become the powerful, successful man I had imagined. He had no loving wife or children by his side. He just stayed in the house we once shared, staring at the doll on the windowsill for hours on end. His grandmother pressed a recent photo of Oliver against the glass. My fingertips, separated by the partition, felt as if they could once again touch his thin shoulders. Tears welled up unexpectedly. The old woman's gentle voice came through the receiver. "Grandma knows you're a good girl. From the very beginning, you never wanted to drag Oliver into this. You were protecting him. But Ava, don't you know that a relationship is a 2-person thing? It can't be severed by just one person. You think that by not burdening him, he can just go on and live his happy life? Ava, ask yourself, could you do that? I buried my face in my hands and let out a soft breath. After a long silence, the old woman sighed softly. Oliver's birthday is next month. Ava, please let him come see you. Will you? A month later. When I walked into the visitation room, Oliver was already there. On the other side of the glass, he sat quietly in his chair. From the moment I appeared, his eyes were locked on my face. Intense, almost greedy. I picked up the phone, smiled faintly, and said, "Happy birthday. Did you have cake today?" Oliver nodded, then after a moment of silence, asked, "Are you okay in there? Are people giving you a hard time?" Oliver's mother had already made arrangements. My fellow inmates were all in for white-collar crimes, and they were all incredibly polite and well-mannered. When they found out I was a murderer, they all treated me with a certain reverence. I was studying finance in prison, and whenever I had a question, would ask them for help. The atmosphere was very harmonious. I laughed as I spoke. So that's not really a problem for me. I looked up and met his dark eyes. My cheerful tone faltered. Please, don't look at me with such sad eyes. I killed my father, and I only have to serve 15 years. I'm already luckier than so many women in this world who have been beaten to death. At least I was the one holding the knife. So, Oliver, don't be sad for me. Really. It was a rare scene. The visitation time ticked by, and we just looked at each other in silence through the glass. I glanced at the clock and decided to take the initiative. What about you? Have you been taking care of yourself? You look like you've lost a lot of weight, and your voice is so hoarse. Oliver, I don't want you to ruin your life because of me. Oliver didn't answer any of my questions. He just looked at me, quietly, as if trying to make up for the more than 2 years we had been apart. I frowned and raised my voice. Are you even listening to me? Oliver, I'm serious. I don't want to see you like this, all sick and weak. Do you understand? His voice suddenly came through the receiver. Have you cried since then? I froze. Oliver looked at me, his dark eyes swirling with countless emotions I couldn't decipher. I watch your doll every day, but it hasn't shed a single tear. Ava, you've stopped crying too, haven't you? A lump formed in my throat. Yes, I hadn't cried again. The old Ava tried to run from the shadows, but they always crawled over her skin and ate at her bones in the middle of the night. She often cried in despair. But the Ava of today was different. My hands have been soaked in blood, so they no longer need to hold tears. Is this a better change? I couldn't say. Fate doesn't give you a perfect script. To gain something, you must give up something else. I knew that long ago. But, still. I still want to say I'm sorry. Because you spent countless nights restless over my tears, and then countless more nights confused and heartbroken over the me who no longer cried. Not being able to grow old with you is a promise I broke. I opened my mouth and finally said, I'm sorry. Oliver was stunned for a second, then shook his head, his voice slow. I used to say I would be there for you when you cried. In the end, I was the one who failed. So, Ava, I'm the one who should be sorry. Sunlight streamed through the small window, illuminating a corner of the table. On the table sat the doll he never parted with. It had long braids, an expensive dress, and a pricey hair clip. This was the life Oliver had originally planned for me. Carefree, happy, and spoiled. But fate wouldn't allow it. Fate made me watch my mother leap from the balcony when I was 4, and I couldn't stop her. Fate made me stand at my own doorstep at 18 and viciously insult my best friend, and I had no choice. Fate made me reject the 18-year-old Oliver and the 20-year-old Oliver. Fate sent me the cruelest gift on the eve of my wedding. Fate demanded that I bow down and admit defeat. And I pulled out a knife. I defeated fate. Yes, I defeated fate. I laughed, a liberating laugh that brought tears to my eyes. At the same moment, the beautiful doll on the table began to cry. The sunlight refracted at a strange angle. In a room with no moisture, a rainbow suddenly appeared. One end was the doll, the other was me. Oliver looked at me in shock. All images and sounds vanished in an instant. The sharp voice of the prison guard fell silent. The clock on the wall expanded to infinity. The giant second, minute, and hour hands spun backward. Time rewound, rewound, rewound. I snapped my eyes open. In the reflection of a rainy puddle, 4-year-old little Ava frowned at me in confusion. This year, I was 4. My mother was not yet dead. All the evil, darkness, and blood had not yet happened. 4-year-old little Ava was pushed back to a fork in the road of fate, shouting as she threw a small fist at the sky. And not far away, a rainbow hung high. 2004, Ava is 4 years old. In April, she cries and begs her mother to take her back to her grandmother's house. Once there, she secretly slips a lottery ticket into her mother's hand. Mommy. Let's go live in the big city. You can buy dresses and pearl necklaces. You can use this paper to buy them. You can buy anything. Her mother dismisses it as a child's dream, smiles, and fans herself with a palm leaf fan. Mommy, believe me. We will have a good life. Before that, can you just hold on for me a little longer? Just a little longer is all I need. 2004, Ava is 4 years old. In June, the gas stove in the house is somehow not turned off properly. And by chance, her hungover father has a pack of cigarettes and a lighter on his nightstand. The doors and windows of the house are shut tight. Ava happily goes to the market to find her mother. An hour later, a friend calls her father to play cards. Woken by the phone, her father irritably lights a cigarette. Boom. Ava, your house exploded. Oh, really? My daddy is still at home. Your daddy's dead. The firefighters dug him out. He died instantly in the explosion. Poor Ava, so pitiful, only 4 years old and no father. Everyone mistakes the uncontrollable smile on the child's face for shock. Yes, poor Ava. She's only 4. How could she have lost her father? The gas leak was, of course, an accident. Gary was drunk and forgot the gas was on, and then foolishly decided to smoke. The moment the lighter sparked, a violent explosion slammed him against the wall, breaking his neck and shattering his bones. A gruesome death. It's fate, people say. It's all fate. Yes, it's fate. It's all fate. 4-year-old Ava, dressed in morning clothes, holds her mother's hand and moves into a new house in the city. That lottery ticket, with numbers so close to Ava's birthday, the one that once earned an innocent Ava a beating from her father after school, was, of course, another form of fate. In that other timeline, Gary had entered his own birthday into the lottery machine, but the winning numbers were his daughter's. He had furiously beaten his daughter with the sole of his shoe. When his wife tried to reason with him, he pushed her against the window and continued the beating. Different timelines, same lottery ticket. The old timeline is slowly erased. In the new one, the lottery ticket brings not her mother's death, but new life. Ava. You get to live again. You are a beautiful, free hibiscus flower, not a tool for someone else's fortune. Run free under the sun. At the end of the road, your mother and a warm home will be waiting. Ava. Walk forward with your head held high. All the darkness is behind you now. Go and enjoy the sky and the clouds. Under the pale pink and lavender sunset, the boy you like is shy and nervous, and you can finally look at him with your head held high and proud. No more bowing down. Ava, my Ava. You will have a long and wonderful life. May your world be vast, and your love be by your side. From now on, fate gets out of your way. And you are the one in control.